Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You ever think reefing's a little too easy? Maybe you need to do a little more every day? Well, I got the program just for you. It's called the Reef Moonshiner program. I'm not a chemist. I'm by no means an expert on all of these different elements, but I'm gonna give you the basic details and the cost of how much it costs to do this and if it's worth it for you or not. So Reef Moonshiner program is about dosing trace elements. If you're not sure what trace elements is, don't worry, there's a whole handbook and details on each and every one of them and the value and importance that they may have on your coral's health. So, which is gonna be step one if you're gonna do this program, is read the handbook. Just to start off, so we're dosing trace elements, right? So what are trace elements? Trace elements are those elements that we're not testing for on our day-to-day basis. So when we're running a reef tank, we talk primarily about alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, nitrate, phosphates, and like salinity, right? And on every video, anything you ever read, the most important thing about your reef tank and your coral's health is stability, right? We're trying to keep those different elements as stable as possible. So a lot of times you hear about this program, you hear it's called the no water change method, right? But what's the point of a water change? At a base level, you're trying to remove nutrients from the water, right? So you're removing dirty salt water, replacing it with clean salt water. That's great. If you have a nutrient issue, water changes are still gonna need to be done on the Moonshine program. You have to remove those nutrients. I have only done a few water changes in the full 2 years I've done it, less than a handful of them. And they were for pretty specific reasons of something, just something off the wall that happened with the reef tank, right? With the program itself, if you're trying to keep stability, doing water changes actually will become a negative, because if I already have clean water, low nutrient water, and I'm replacing it with new clean water, what is my value, right? And if I'm spending the money to dose elements every day, then replacing that clean water, clean tested, ICP tested water with fresh salt water makes no sense. People may say the water change just has a magic, right? It has this magic about it. Well, what do you think the magic is, right? If you're not just removing nutrients, what you're actually doing is replenishing trace elements that have been depleted from your corals. As you send off multiple tests, you're gonna see trace elements that are gonna be going up, some are gonna be going down if you've started dosing. And as those ones go down, you may see a difference in your corals. And instead of doing a water change to replenish them, you're gonna be dosing a little bit more of that element. And then you're gonna hopefully see those corals start to look better, which I definitely have. So overall, I've been in the program now for, like I said, 19, 20 months or so. I've had a good experience. I really have. Just reading the handbook alone and learning about all of these different elements and what they do for your corals. I said in the beginning of this channel, I say it almost every video, one of my favorite parts about this hobby is learning. And if you really want to learn, this program is for you. And also, you will never be more in tune with your reef tank than when you're on a program like this. I always explain it like this. It takes me less than 5 minutes to dose each of these, and usually I'm doing that with feed. For me, it feels good to do. I'm sending off those ICP tests, so I have a view of my tank that most reefers don't have unless they're doing something like this, because other times you may never send an ICP test off, or you may only do it when there's something seriously wrong. I really like to think of it like a situation where corals, when they have issues, when you have a destabilizing factor, a coral can either not care and kind of recover from it pretty quickly if you get things back online, or more sensitive corals, they may completely die. What I have found with my reef tank and my corals, especially now that I've started to service other reef tanks, is that I feel like there is a overall health factor to your coral. And if you are running a tank as mine, where every element is where it should be or really close to it and has been for so long, that if something goes wrong, like you have an elk or a kelp swing or a temperature change, the corals seem to be more resilient to issues than if your tank is kind of like just that average tank that is doing well, but you kind of lose corals here or there, or things sometimes don't go as well. And I'm by no means saying that means that you're not going to have problems, right? I'm sure that there's going to be issues that you can have just the same as if you weren't doing a program like this, and definitely something you could introduce if you're not doing it properly, overdosing different elements and such. But for me, I believe it has a good, huge positive factor on my reef tank and my coral's health and growth. I just believe that doing this, being in tune with the reef tank like that, really helps to prevent or mitigate those risks before they even present. So let's talk about the details here. How much does it cost to do it? First of all, how much time does it take out of my day? I think I mentioned already, I dose about 9, 10 things a day. It takes about the time it takes for my frozen food to defrost to get those elements in. I have every bottle labeled out as this. So if this is iron, for example, dose 1.8 milliliters of this, turn it up, boom, get my 1, get the 0.8 and put it in, right? So I do that down the line, get my elements in there. I'm usually finished before the frozen food's even ready to go in. Throw my frozen food in and I'm done for the day. Let's talk about costs. I'm gonna bring up the numbers that I've done. So I did the math on how much I've spent for the Reef Moonshiner elements for the entire time that I've started, removing my unused ICP test and remaining elements that I have, that brings me down to about $2,400 over 19 months, or $127 a month and $1,600 a year, which is not cheap, but at the same time, this hobby ain't cheap. And I believe that I'm gonna get that value out of it and that I already have, right? So how much does it cost me to do water changes? Just doing some basic math on what my water sewage costs and then estimating how quickly I'm gonna go through RODI resin filters. Water changes regularly would cost me around $600 a year. My annualized cost for Reef Moonshiner program would be $1,000 a year additionally than if I were just doing water changes. And for me, with as much money as I've invested, time and love that I have for this hobby, an extra $1,000 is well worth it. I really do believe that I get the most out of my corals, the most color, the most growth when I'm doing this in comparison to when I wasn't. Really think that at a minimum you should give the handbook a read, really check it out and see if maybe it is for you, right? If you're like me and really enjoy learning and really just enjoy being in tune with the reef tank, I think this program is pretty awesome. And just to give a shout out to the Facebook group, as well as Andre, the guy who runs this whole program and started it. Anytime I have questions, that Facebook group is a wealth of knowledge. Most importantly, thanks again for watching. I really enjoy doing these and talking about these topics. So if it's something you want to hear more about, please just let me know.